Jake Skin, host of the Boxed In podcast, proudly sponsored by Media Management. A link to their socials will be in the description. Now, in the 5th episode of the podcast, I'm delighted to be joined by fellow Rosso lad and former IBO lightweight world champion, Maxi Hughes. In the episode, we talk about how Maxi felt when he won that IBO world title, the experience of headlining in America twice, and what's next in his career. If you do enjoy the podcast, then please feel free to like and subscribe. The support is massively appreciated. Hope you enjoy. Hi, I'm Jake Skin, host of the Boxed In podcast, and in this episode of the podcast, I'm delighted to be joined by Maxi Hughes. Maxi, how are you?
Good, mate. You?
Yeah, very good, thanks. So, first of all, what was the reason you started boxing? Is it something that runs in the family?
No, there's nobody in the family who's ever done it before. I used to play rugby league when I was 13, 14, and I was ready to start another season, go into my third season, and our coaches took us to a boxing gym at Hatfield, actually, not Hatfield, Lindome Prison, boxing gym there, for some pre-season training, and we had a few weeks there, and I used to really look forward to that day where we'd go training, and I thought, actually, I think I'm going to have a go at this, so I thought, I went back rugby, and I did 2 seasons. I enjoyed rugby, and I think that were a good grounding, and good sort of preparation for boxing, and then I just decided that I'm going to go boxing. Found out the Donny Plant Works, they were like a proper amateur gym who do fights and stuff, so that were it. I went there 2005, and that's been my life since.
That's sort of your first memory of the sport then, going into that sort of amateur gym?
Yeah, and I wasn't a massive boxing fan before that. Boxers who I knew of were Prince Nazim, Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis and Frank Bruno. They were sort of the only boxers, because they were like big stars, especially back in their prime. So they were, I won't say, I didn't grow up watching it or out like that. It was just purely because I'd gone to that gym and I had to go at the training myself. I thought, I'm going to have a go at this. And it were at that point then, getting involved in boxing then, and it were like, right, I like this sport a lot, and then start studying it, watching, and obviously it's been my life for the last 20 years.
Wow. So when you started off boxing, did you always want to turn pro?
No, I never, when I started amateur boxing, I never had any major ambitions. I'd have always liked to have win the championships, win ABAs, which is championships held once a year. That's like your most prestigious amateur other than like Olympics. Like it's every year. It's like big tournament for all the country, England anyway. And it's quite a prestigious title to win. I always did all right in it. Got to quarterfinals, semi-finals, pretty much every year. But I always come up against good squad lads who'd been off at England squad and entered tournament. So I always come up against it. And though sometimes I should have got the nod and won. But yeah, the plan were never to go, I'm going to be pro. I just used to take it, I suppose, fight by fight, which couldn't be, sometimes twice a week. Just whenever the phone rang, that's how amateur boxing was. So I was just happy doing it, and I was just happy to do it, and turned up to the gym every day, and I took each time as I went, as it come.
So when you did then decide to turn pro, what were your sort of aspirations in the sport?
Again, when it come to the point to turn pro, I were 19, just about to turn 20, and there were a couple of lads who had beat as amateurs who'd then gone on to turn pro. A couple of them had boxed on Sky Sports show, so I was like, there might be a potential future that I could do this, because I've beat him.
Yeah. So
I'm better than him, so I might be able to do this myself. And then again, the ABAs were coming up, and I was in the senior ABAs. I was just turned 20, and I thought, right, So if I can go in ABA, senior ABAs, win a senior ABA title, that's like almost like a bargaining chip to turn pro. You could go to a few different managers, promoters, maybe get a signing on bonus, or you might maybe get really looked after. You know, quite naive. I didn't know anything about professional boxing or the business of professional boxing, because it is a business as well, more of a business than a sport it is. So again, I got chatting to a professional coach of one of the amateurs who I'd beat. It were only at Rotherham, Chad Gaynor it was. And so I thought, right, they welcomed me in, you know, to start training and sparring and see if I liked it, see if I wanted to turn pro. And it was then that they were like, right, do you definitely want to turn pro? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go for it. And they introduced me to a manager. He'd be happy to sign me and give me a contract. And again, I turned pro, like, oh, I'm going to be world champion, I'm going to win this, I want to do that. I was just like, right, I'll just take this as it comes, sort of same mindset as an amateur. It's like, wow, I'm now a professional, but I'll just take each fight as it comes and see what happens. And wasn't until maybe a year in, my manager at the time, Chris Aston, he was also the manager of current British super featherweight champion Gary Sykes from Batley. And I started sparring with Gary because we were similar weights, and that's when obviously and at this time I'm studying boxing, watching Friday Fight Nights as it was back then on Sky, and obviously Gary were fighting, defending his British title, and that's when the aspiration and goal come, oh, you know, I've sparred with Gary, I've done alright with him, he's British champion, look at that beautiful belt he's got. I wouldn't mind one of those myself, so that then, you know, like within the first year of me being pro, I set the goal of, right, I just want to be British champion, I want that, I want to fight in Sky. And that, you know, that was my goal. It took me 10 years to finally get my hands on that belt, you know, on my third attempt, but yeah, that was my main goal throughout, you know, my majority of my professional career.
So you first fought for the British title in the final fight of the trilogy against Martin J. Ward. Were you, I guess, almost like sick of the sight of him by the
He was sick of the sight of me out of he had that British title, yeah. His brother said that, and you know, since fighting him, there were always respect between us, and he's got such a nice family as Martin. And his brother Bobby, he was a boxer, and I remember after that final time, fought British, he went in changing room speaking to him after. His brother Bobby went, right, now, will you fuck off? Sick of training for you. So yeah, we shared that moment, and yeah, it was a good trilogy, you know. I felt I were hard done by in the first one, we ended up being a draw. Felt I should have got the nod there. Second fight, he broke my nose, that's why my nose is bent, and then third fight again, fought British. I held my hands up and said, better man won at night.
So you then had your second attempt at the British title against Sam Bowen, losing in the 8th round due to a cut. How did this affect you at the time, having once again come up short on that ambition?
I took that loss pretty bad, that one actually. Training had not gone great, and I was campaigning at super featherweight, and I had outgrown it. It was a struggle to make weight, but that opportunity to fight for British again, it was good money. And I genuinely thought I could beat Sam Bowen. I thought, I've got the better of him here. But you know, it wasn't meant to be. Again, you know, little things again, like it was his promotion show. They knew I was going to try and, you know, I'm a boxer mover. So we had the smallest ring possible. The thickness at sponge under canvas were like this. So it were like boxing in sand. So they knew how to slow me down and give him the advantage. But they had that within their power, you know. I was just. But at the time, my wife was pregnant with our first daughter, and we needed that fight money to pay for her to be on maternity leave, so she can, you know, be off work without losing wages and bring the baby up in the first 8-9 months of the baby's life, you know, which is obviously crucial. So yeah, and it was at that point, and I think it was just how the training was, having a bad weight cut, outgrowing weight, how it ended, you know, having my eye badly messed up, and I just thought, I've had enough of this. I'm not good enough to win the British title. I thought, I'll have to call this a day. And for a period, I thought, you know what, I'm done with it now. I've come up short a few times. It's not meant to be. I'll just, when at the time I was still working as a painter on building sites, and we're doing all right, like money wise. I could, I were always willing to graft. I'd bet because it were whether by that time this fight were April, so summer months, and again thinking about money, I thought, right, I'll pack boxing in and I'll just concentrate at work, and I'll do it overtime. I'm finishing well, 7-8 o'clock at night. But then as time went on, everyone kept asking me, when you fighting again? I said, I'm finished with this, I've had enough. Just thought, still, I've watched it a bit, seeing current scene around British level, and I'm like, look at these kids coming through here. I thought, I can still beat them. I've still got something to offer. And again, I had that thought, right, I was 28 at the time. I thought, right, I'm 28, I'm still young enough. I don't want to live with regret of leaving it till I'm past 30 and then going, right, then now I'll try and come back. Too much time will have gone back. I thought I'll end up living with regret then. So I thought, just give it another go, and I gave it a go. So what fights after that? I ended up having about just over a year out of ring due to resorting getting my license again.
Yeah.
Going through medicals again, but I decided, and I think it was July 2019, I decided to come back.
So after the loss to Sam Bowen, you go 2-1 in your next 3 fights, but then you get a massive opportunity in a fight against John O'Carroll. Did you feel as if this was, I guess, almost a turning point in your career?
It was, yeah. So like during that, it was COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody was locked down. We'd started allowing professional sport to come back, but it had to be behind closed doors. And at that time, I'd fought in February in a 4-rounder to get a win. So I'd got that win, and I were actually penciled in just before COVID got really bad to go to Kazakhstan and face the undefeated Victor Katochigov from Kazakhstan. And go over there, fight him, because he were currently WBC international champion. So I thought, all right, that'll be a good fight. And then obviously COVID come and everything went mental. And at that point, I didn't know what was going to happen with my career, when I was going to fight again. And I actually got an offer of going to Belarus to fight this undefeated Russian, bit of an unknown. You're an handful, like, but at the time it was shit money. But I thought, I don't know when I'm going to be fighting again. So I'll take it. It's money that I could do with. And I accepted that, and my manager was like, couple of days, my manager even saying, look, it's not a very good offer, this, and it's dodgy going to Belarus to fight a Russian. But I was like, look, I don't want to fight again. I'm happy to take it. And he was like, all right. I think only a couple of days later, he messaged me and saying, look, I've cancelled that Belarus. I've pulled, I've not accepted it. I've got something better coming. Give me a day, and I've got you something better coming. I was like, all right, fair enough, like. And that next day, I got the message saying, fighting John O'Carroll in Yorkshire at the Production Park studio. It was just an empty warehouse on an MTK show, so it'd be on live on iFilm, and it was out on ESPN Plus. Again, good money fight, and I thought, oh, great. Obviously believed in myself. I think I was 12 to 1 underdog with bookies for that, which is a bit offensive, really. So took that, and like you say, it just clicked. Got that win, and I think I needed that for myself more than out, to say like, there you go. Even though there were no belt online, it was championship rounds, 10 rounds against him, who was, I think he was at the time, he'd just come off beating Scott Quigg, and I think he was like, he was supposed to be fighting for a world title, but used me underestimated me as thinking I'll just use Maxi as a keep busy fight. He's a good enough name, is Maxi, but he'll not beat me. But obviously we had different ideas, and once I got that win, it was like, there you go, you are good enough to win these domestic fights. And yeah, something clicked then, and then got signed by MTK. So I had like a good big promotional outfit behind me, pushing me. And then it were 8 weeks. 8 weeks later, I fought again against your man Victor Kotochagov. He'd since had a fight, but now we were both signed with MTK. It was an easy fight to make. So yeah, like it carried on my momentum, and I got to have a bit of an holiday during COVID because the fight were in Dubai. So that was nice.
I'm saying, well, what was that like, sort of going over to Dubai and experiencing?
It was still COVID restrictions. It were the most bizarre. So you had to turn up. We flew from Manchester, turned up to Manchester Airport. You had to start have your mask on. Obviously, you had to pull your mask down to show them your passport, mask back up. And at this time, you'd heard about people going on flights and that. And you're like, oh, it's great because there's hardly anyone going. Plane's empty. And I thought, oh, this would be all right. 7-hour flight. If I could like get my own row seats, get laid down on it and that. But there wasn't an empty seat on that plane. It was just packed, and me and my trainer Sean, we were like in the middle of a row of 4, and again you had to have your mask on all the flight, and then they brought you food which you could then take your mask down, eat food, but then they're like, right, if you finished eating, please put your mask back on. And it was bizarre, but again, Dubai is like the law, you know, like over here people push the law and don't are happy to not always obey by the law, whereas in Dubai, you don't mess with police. Whatever they say, whatever the rules are, you follow them. So even if you were walking down the street by yourself, you had to have your mask on. Otherwise, I think it was something like 700 dirham fine, like their currency. So yeah, it was strange. You know, I went for a couple of walks with my mask on. I got to go and see, which one I was. It won't, you know, like when you go to the coast and you put your feet in, you're like, I braced myself to go in, and I was like, oh, it's like a walk back. But yeah, it was nice, and obviously I got a good win. So it was a brilliant experience for me.
So with the momentum gained from the previous 2 victories, you then earned yourself a 3rd shot at the British title against Paul Hyland Jr. Did you believe that now it was finally your time to become British champ?
Absolutely. So I was obviously current WBC international champion. I didn't actually know when I was going to be fighting again. I was chasing him, like, when am I fighting? And we'll let you know soon, And then I get a phone call off Lee Eaton, who was the main man at MTK. And he was like, do you think you could be ready to fight in 4 weeks' time? I was like, yeah, of course I will. I was training, I was still working as well at the time. And I says, he went, all right, leave it with me. I'm like, all right, fair enough. And then within like maybe half hour or an hour, he rings back. Right, so you're definitely you're all right to fight in 4 weeks' time, yeah? I went, yeah. I says, what will I be doing? Will I be defending the WBC? He went, no, fighting for a British title. I was like, oh, get in. I says, how's this come about? Like, and a former opponent of mine, Liam Walsh, was due to fight Paul Hyland Jr. on that show, but Liam he'd had COVID, or he'd got COVID, or he'd not recovered from COVID, so he was forced to withdraw from that fight. But they still wanted that fight, so they needed a lightweight who was eligible to fight for British. And at that time, I was like, throw me in. There's no way now. 3rd time, you know, believing. 3rd time lucky, all that. I was like, there's no way he's beating me for that. I'm having that belt. 3rd time, it's mine. And obviously I got it. Some say it was controversial, the ending, but when you watch the fight and you watch the referee, and he failed to obey the instruction, defend yourself at all times, he turned his back, and I took my chance to make sure that, I mean, I was winning every round anyway, but when he turned his back like that, I thought, you've turned your back there, mate. I'm absolutely making sure that I'm coming away with this belt.
And so what was you like reaction? How did you feel, I guess, when you finally won that?
Yeah, again, it was strange because it was behind closed doors.
Yeah.
They allowed like a handful of people, which I had pretty much a couple of lads from gym. So it was just to the sound of that. And obviously you heard the chat, so it were almost a bit deflating, like, the moment.
Yeah.
10 years I'd been a pro at that time, so like 10 years I've been chasing this belt. Third time lucky I've got it, and nobody, well, obviously my gym mates were there, which were great, but my family and all fans were just like, I ain't got that minute. But again, it was like, when you chase something for so long, I remember I said this in an interview of a week, you often hear this saying, people who achieve big, whether it be football, whatever sport it is, when they get to that defining moment, you go, it's not sunk in yet. And it's like, I never used to like saying it, because I was like, what does that mean? It's not sunk in yet. And like, I sat down, thought about what do they mean it's not sunk in? But then achieving it myself and feeling a bit deflated, it's like, because the journey's been more, how can I explain it? It's like, the journey's, you picture it so many times and you visualise it and you go through it in your head and you think it's going to be this big, heavens are going to open up and everything's going to change. And the fact is, you've got your belt and it's nice. Obviously, it's a very proud moment, but it's like, right, that's it now, what do I do now? And, we went round the corner, there were kebab shops still up and stuff. We had a kebab, and that was it. Went back home, and it was like life goes on. My wife worked, fellas, because the fight were at Bolton, I got to go home. After a good bit of time, I'd done my drugs test after the fight and had my kebab and drove home from Bolton. Like, it was obviously late, so my wife was asleep, going into the house, and it's just like, this is a bit deflating. And,
almost, I guess, a sort of case of sometimes the journey's better than the
that's what I mean. Like the journey, and obviously you've pictured it so many times, and it's just like that. So then like life just went on after that. I mean, it was still a very proud moment, proudest moment of my career. Like finally, and having my name engraved onto my name in history books now as a British champion.
So you then come up against arguably the toughest test in your career up to that point in Giovanni Straffon, a fight in which you were again viewed as a large underdog. Did you always have that confidence going into the fight that you could get the job done?
Yeah, with the run that I'd been on, I knew I were up against it, and I think that helped with my preparation and how I performed in that fight. He gave me that fear factor. Whereas I think with Paul Ireland, I got caught like with silly shots because I didn't have much of that fear factor. I knew I'd got his number, and I almost like obviously I respected him, but didn't respect him as much because I wasn't worried about what he was going to do. I've just got an answer for whatever you're going to do. Whereas Straffon, he was a relatively unknown quantity until he come over in his previous fight to me when he won the belt. He got that on 2 weeks' notice against James Tennyson, who I know James quite well. He's a good, very, very good fighter. And he is the biggest puncher. I've obviously not fought him. I've sparred him loads, but he is the biggest puncher I've been in with. And James hit him with absolutely everything in the round that they fought. Wow. And Giovanni just managed to walk through it and land his own shots, and he got it all ended within one round. And now we're like, and then obviously Eddie Hearn had given me the opportunity to box for that, and he's like, there you go, Maxi Hughes. There's your opportunity. Go and fight that dangerous person. And I was like, right, well, if this is my chance, this is my chance. So again, in my preparation, he'd give me that fear factor. I thought, he can hit you once and he can put your lights out. So it helped me perform by making sure my hands up and I didn't get sloppy and get caught with no daft. And it come to fight that I put on, best performance and one of the best performances in my career.
Yes, obviously you win that fight by unanimous decision, then become the IBO lightweight world champion. That must have been a special moment for you.
Yeah, obviously I'd had those 3 fights behind closed doors in COVID, and then this was the first one. Eddie in the stadium as well, massive stadium, undercard to Josh, so there were loads there, first time boxing like in an outdoor stadium. And it obviously it always makes it sweet when you're a massive underdog and nobody gives you a chance and you pull off the win like that. Well, that were a special moment, and again, it was such a strange one to come down from, because now if I take you back to actually getting, so we could have got a lift if I stayed in the fight hotel where all fighters were. I could have got a lift straight into the changing room. But me and my wife had booked our own hotel. We wanted to have our own hotel on the outskirts of Leeds. And I said, look, my wife were like ready to drop as well. She was pregnant with our second baby, like 3 weeks away, I think, from giving birth. So she was heavily pregnant. And I said to Matchroom staff, I was like, look, I want my wife backstage.
Yeah.
She's got a seat ringside. She's going to sit for my fight ringside, and she'll be coming back, and we'll be out here.
Yeah.
Whereas some fighters have the massive entourage just coming down. That I'm just asking for my wife, because you can see she's heavily pregnant. So we turns up to the car park. They wouldn't up a barrier for us. They were like, this reg plate and your car's not been authorised to enter. And I'm like, look, I'm fighting for the title tonight. So they were like, well, sorry, her name's not down, she's not coming in. I went, all right, well, I'm not going in that way then. So we had to come park up and got in this car park. So then all fans are like walking around the streets outside. And I'm walking with my boxing bag, and I'm walking, and I remember feeling a bit embarrassed, like, so I went, fucking hell, there's Maxi Hughes, he's fighting tonight, what's he doing here? And I'm like, trying to keep my head down, like, oh, for fuck's sake. And like, I had to go like to the security door, and like, as though I've got a ticket. I went, oh look, I said, look, I'm fighting tonight. I need to know where changing rooms are. And, like, they were just like day staff, only been brought in for like one day. They were like, can't help you mate, don't know where changing room. I think they're down there. So again, like walking miles and miles, and they finally got into the changing room. And then obviously the fight happens and everything. And then me and my wife drove out, and like by this time I'd done my drug test, done all the interviews, and I was starving, proper starving. And I was like, right, there's a McDonald's next to our hotel. All my face were well bruised up, my eye were closing shut. I thought, I don't want to go into McDonald's because I don't want to draw attention to my face. But the drive-through queue of coming out, and I was like, oh, for God's sake, not sitting in that. We'll get some at a hotel. Got to get to the hotel. And they'd watched it. And so I walked in there, because there were a young lad on who were a boxing fan who were like the evening staff. He went, cracking fight that. And I went, I says, could we order some food, like room service? He went, ever so sorry, we're not serving now.
No.
For God's sake, I'm starving, I've just won this belt. I just want something to eat. And he went, I'll tell you what I'll do, me and other lad, we'll go to the kitchen and we'll just make some sandwiches. So we literally went and made some sandwiches, and that were it. Back in the hotel, we're just like, with some sandwiches that did not so like, I've just won the title, biggest win in my career, and I'm just in a room with some sandwiches.
So you then get the backing of a major promoter in Eddie Hearn. Was this, I guess, another box ticked in your career, considering from where you'd started?
Yeah, I'd obviously boxed on Eddie and Matchroom shows. Scotty Cardle, my first loss, the 3 with Martin J. Ward, so I'm familiar. And that were always my goal. I want to be signed by Matchroom. I don't want to be the away fighter on Matchroom. I want to be the home fighter. So again, after all these years and being the underdog and finally getting this momentum and run, I got signed by Matchroom. So again, another brilliant moment in my career to then finally be signed by Matchroom and have the full force and backing of Eddie Hearn. And it wasn't long after that, got a sponsor as well, so I were able to pack in work. So that was good. I was literally living my dream. I got signed by Matchroom, just won a big fight, big title. Now I'm full time. I'm living dream.
So you then made 2 successful defences of your IBO title against Ryan Walsh and Kid Galahad, respectively. The latter of the 2 you had 9 at Nottingham Arena.
Yeah.
Obviously that was due to the postponement of Maurizio Lara versus Lee Wood.
Yeah.
Would you say that this was the most confident you'd ever felt in your boxing career?
Yeah, I felt, I've always, like, since being on that run, felt good whoever I against. So I was a bit annoyed with the Galahad fight because, again, that happened in the September. All summer, Eddie were trying to get the Ryan Garcia fight, and we'd been in negotiations a couple of times. Ryan had been reaching out to me on Instagram, messaging me saying he wants to fight and all that. Look, we want to fight. It was obviously down to promoters who couldn't deliver that for us, which is a shame. So I'd obviously had my sights set sort of on Ryan Garcia fights like that in America, because Eddie kept going on about, I'm going to get you this life-changing money fight, Maxi, I'm going to deliver it for you. And then all of a sudden there's like, there's Kid Galahad. And I'm like, he doesn't deserve to fight me. I don't like him. I don't want to fight him. You know, sort of get me somebody else. They were like, can't get you no one else. If you want to fight, you have to fight him. I was like, all right. And I was able to swallow it because I thought, albeit he's not very well liked, you can't take away his ability. He's British, Commonwealth, European, and a world champion. Fought very high level, very accomplished. So I thought, yeah, I'll get this fight. I'll beat him, and then at least I've got former world champion on my record then, and that's how it went, sort of thing.
So the win over Kid Galahad puts you on a 7-fight win streak. Coincidentally, your trainer for those 7 fights was Sean O'Hagan. How big of an impact would you say that he's had on your career?
Yeah, massive. You know, like when I say for like things click, it's obviously a lot of it's down to Sean. With just like you've got, like I suppose in life, you know, you've got to find someone who brings the best out in you, and he understands me, he knows me very well, and he just knows how to bring the best out of me. He knows what makes me work, knows what he needs to say. He's very calm. You know, we're very like-minded people like that. Like I don't need a trainer motivator like to rev me up and shout, and I don't need that. It's just a nice calm voice telling me a few simple instructions, and I'm able to listen and go out and do what he says. So yeah, I will all my success and where I am in my career now down to Sean.
So you then decided to sign with promoter Lou DiBella for your next fight against George Kambosos. Did you think that the link up would, I guess, almost take your career to the next level?
Yeah, because after the Kid Galahad fight, my contract had ended with Matchroom. They told me another contract was coming, which it did. This is here's your new contract. But it wasn't sort of in the direction that I wanted to go. You know, I spoke with Eddie face to face a few times about and we discussed what direction I want to go in, and thought we was both on the same page. And then I received this contract, and it's like, and I'm like, oh, again, a bit deflated. It's like, it's not really what we discussed. It's not what I want at this stage in my career. And at that time, obviously, I'd not signed the contract yet, so I was promotionally a free agent. So down to my wife's influence, and I thought, you know, I knew that Lou DiBella had followed me on Twitter, so that allowed me to send him a private message. And it was down to my wife again. She was like, well, if I take it back, I knew that DiBella looked after Kambosos, and obviously George had just come off the 2 defeats to Haney, and I knew he was carrying on fighting. So I was like, right, we're both, I think I was number 9, he was number 8 with IBF. I thought, right, you know, bit of matchmaking myself here. I thought, right, I'll just, and my wife was like, look, message Lou, see if they're interested in that fight. What you got to lose? He can either ignore it or he can say no. That's the worst that can happen. So I'm like, right, sat in the kitchen, sent her a message, went to a cafe around the corner, come back, check my phone, all that. Oh, Sophie's messaged me back. Says he's definitely interested in working, and he's speaking to Team Kambosos very soon. He'll put that fight to him. I'm like, right, great. And I thought that was easy. So then next we negotiated the contract, signed with DiBella, and obviously which led us to the Kambosos fight. Sure, you've got a question about that.
Certainly do. So from when you started to then headlining in the US, obviously in Oklahoma, on top of obviously headlining there on that top rank card, how proud of an achievement was that for you?
Again, massive, because if I'd have gone with the Matchroom contract, the first fight that was on there wasn't going to be a headliner. So again, to turn that down, and people around me were advising me that it was a bad move to sign with DiBella. But again, I stuck by my guns. I was like, no, because originally the fight was going to be in Australia, and then it kept going on and on, because we did the deal like in February. So we were thinking we were going to be fighting in April in Australia, and then it got closer, and then I'm back and forth on phone with Lou, and he's like, oh, because I'm like, when's the date? When's the actual date? And he's like, oh, just working on a few things and this and that, and all that. Right, all right. And the next thing is that, right, Top Rank are interested in this. They're going to do a deal. They've just signed George, so they're going to put it on. Right. And originally then it was going to be, which date was it? I think it was July 27th or 25th, whichever date was Spence Crawford. We was going to be on that date in Vegas.
Oh wow.
And then Spence Crawford gets announced on that same day in Vegas. So they were like, we're not going up against that. Like, didn't take no offence when they said, that's a little bit bigger than your fight. You're going to have nobody there. I was like, all right, so we're going to put you on a week before, and the state that's available is Oklahoma. I was like, all right, fair enough, but you know, it's still a massive achievement, headlining on a Top Rank card on ESPN, Sky Sports, against the former undisputed in America. And again, other than the result, a great experience. You know, going to Oklahoma, it was never a place that I'd have thought to visit, but the people were great, the experience were great. Just the result was stunk and spoiled it before we come home.
Yes, obviously going on to that result, anyone who's watching the podcast and knows about boxing will know obviously that a robbery took place that night. Obviously they gave Ken Moses the majority decision. What were your emotions after the fight? Yeah,
it was a tough one to take. Because I just thought, how have they got it so wrong? And I was like, you know, once I visualised like that, right, I'm going to beat George, I'm going to be mandatory for IBF world title. No, which again, it hurts. See it build up now. Loma fighting Joe. I think that should be me. I should be fighting Lomachenko, a modern day great. You know, somebody from this village fighting. You know, somebody who's probably going to be in Hall of Fame. You know, go down as an all-time great. You know, for me to be able to say that I should have fought it. So that hurts. And again, it was saying like they stole my dream. And the most annoying bit is them judges don't get held accountable for that. Which again, it's just that bit leaves a sour taste. But thankfully, you know, the IBF did the right thing. After all complaints and loads of people got involved and were just sending messages and emails to IBF saying, you've got to sort that out, disgusting. So they did. Took a while, but they reached out to me and they were like, look, we've had it rescored by an independent panel of judges, and they didn't say you would have won. They were like, it would have been a different outcome. So for that, like usually if you lose an eliminator, you drop down or out at rankings. Says to make up for it, we can't change the result, but we're going to move you into the top 5, which makes you eligible for a final eliminator, and you're more than likely going to be ordered for a final eliminator in your next fight. And I was like, right, I can swallow that. At least I'm going to be in a big fight, you know. Which takes us up to the last one.
It certainly does.
Last fight.
A lot of fighters dream to headline in Las Vegas, and obviously very few get to do it, especially if you're from the UK. Is it fair to say that you were in dreamland when that Zepeda fight got announced?
Yeah, but again, nearly got taken away from me. But yeah, to have that, you know, be involved in a bigger fight than the Cambosos, in obviously the mecca of boxing, Las Vegas. You know, seeing my face on the Las Vegas Strip on a big billboard, that's something else. Like you said, everybody wants to headline in Vegas. Not many ever get to, especially from UK. And I'm on that very, very short list of people that does it. You know, it didn't go my way, and things went wrong for me, but nobody can take away that I earned my place there. I didn't just get handpicked and chosen. I earned my place to be there. You know, which again, I'm very proud of getting myself there.
So obviously you talk about you're going to lose the fight.
but obviously your preparation wasn't the
Yeah.
best in that sort of 2 weeks leading up to the fight. Can you sort
Yeah.
of tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so the training been going brilliant. Like, I train all year round anyway.
Yeah.
I don't just train for fights, so I'm always in gym. And then we sort of just before Christmas, we get an inkling that it's going to be ordered to fight William Zepeda, and Lou DiBella had already started negotiations with Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy Promotion. So we knew it would come in, and we knew it was going to be in the first quarter of the year. So in my mind, I'm like, right, I didn't cancel Christmas. I still enjoy Christmas, but I still trained over Christmas and training all the way up until the last 2 weeks. One of the best training camps I'd had, and I felt fantastic. Sparring had gone brilliant. No niggles, no injury, which usually there's always a niggle.
Yeah.
Something goes wrong in training, but it had gone smooth. And then it comes to the travel day 2 weeks before to go over there and get acclimatised. It was my birthday as well.
Yeah.
You know, again, I'd been put up by the promoters. They'd flown me over in first class, so nice and fresh getting off plane, and got to passport control, and yeah, I must have been in Vegas airport an hour, and then I was on the next flight. I was on the next flight. They're literally the same plane, same plane, back at plane, squashed up in corner like that. My sciatica was kicked in, and then once I'd landed back in Heathrow, I just didn't know what were going to be happening, because I had no contact with anyone because of me. Obviously, you're offline on the plane. I'd managed to get a message to my wife just before the plane went off. I like literally woke her up because of time difference. Said, I've been deported. Here's a lawyer's number. Here's promoter's number. They could deal with that.
Wow.
I've got to go now because plane's about to go.
That's it, yeah.
And it was like, I know I'm obviously offline for the next 11 hours. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if I'm going to get back home, and they're going to be like, right, get on the next plane because we've sorted your visa. But no, it wasn't that quick and it wasn't that simple. So I had a couple of days up till Thursday in London, staying around Heathrow Airport, which is what they told me to do. And then I was like, right, you know what's happening? They brought on some specialist immigration lawyers to say, you know, to get me. They were trying to get me into the embassy at London, the US embassy at London, but that's the main one. It's massive. I even turned up there myself. So I tell you what, I was going to walk up, and they just like shooed me away. And then on Thursday, I get a phone call saying, right, we've booked you a flight. You're going to Belfast tonight, so get your stuff. Go get this flight. And luckily, I know some boxing people, Tony Dunlop and James Tennyson. I'm very friendly with them, and obviously they got the gym, so I got a hotel, landed in Belfast, got to my hotel, and by this time it was like 8:30 at night, but I was like, I've done no boxing training this week, biggest fight of my life next week.
Wow.
If I get my visa, you know, in my head I was like, just stay in your mind as though you're fighting, still train as though you're fighting. So I went there, James and Tony looked after me, trained me, and on the Friday I had my interview with Embassy. They approved the visa in the interview Friday morning, so I'm like, right, I've got it. But then they says, right, come back later tonight before we finish, because we'll have printed you. It's basically a sticker in your passport, your visa. We'll have printed that into your passport, so Friday tea time you can come collect it, and then you're good to go for the weekend. I'm like, right, I can cope with that. A couple of days, you know, within 5 or 6 days, I'll be back in bed. You know, it'll have took me, so I'll be in Vegas for Saturday night, full week before the fight. I'll be alright with that. But didn't hear no from Embassy. Finally got in touch with him like half an hour before they closed, and they were like, sorry, printer's broke, can't give you. I was like, oh no. So again, I broke down then. I was in tears then. I was like, I'm in Belfast, my passport is locked in there, all I want to do is go home. I just need to go home. And then I was like, right, Belfast is UK, I'll just use my driver's license and I'll fly home on that. And then when I thought about it, I spoke to her, she went, it's not going to be worth it. By the time you get home, you're going to have a day here, and then you're going to have to go back to Belfast for Monday to get
Yeah.
your passport. And so I spent the weekend in Belfast, fast forward to Monday morning, gets the phone call, early doors, right, we've managed to print it. So I had to pelt then down to Dublin, 2-hour drive. I had to run through airport, got through the US border in the Dublin airport, and then I managed to catch a last minute flight to Atlanta. 3 hours in Atlanta waiting, and then a flight from Atlanta to Vegas, which got me into Vegas Monday, a fight week about midnight. And I kept telling myself, you'll be alright, stay mentally strong, stay focused, stay ready. And yeah, so that's how my journey to Vegas
I'm
went.
saying that is just absolutely mental.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything like
Yeah,
that.
covered some files.
So
Yeah.
certainly did.
Yeah.
So we are here at Rosington Main FC. We've got the badge here, nicely in shot. And your granddad has a stand here, and obviously we're both from Rosington.
Yeah.
Whilst it isn't a massive town or city, you must certainly be proud of the support that comes from the village.
Oh, brilliant, yeah, like one of the most proudest moments of my career was for that fight being in Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, obviously Vegas, it's not cheap to go to.
No.
It's not close. It's a long plane ride away, and the support I got, there were 40, 50 people there. And they'd been in Vegas about 24 to 48 hours, all fans, everyone from the village. And it was at we're at weigh-in. Because the official weigh-in was 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So we'd weighed in and done the way we just had to do a ceremonial one for like the fans and stuff. So I were all like chatting with them all, and honestly they were knackered. They had no voice left, they were hungover, some of them were still pissed. And they just didn't look like they had a good cheer in them. And I was like, thanks for coming. And then weigh-in started, and then once they called my name out, oh my God, the noise. Oscar De La Hoya, Bernard Hopkins, these two boxing legends that have seen it all. It was a pretty quiet room up until then. And when we sat down on a chair like this, like the stage for Wayne were there, Oscar and Bernard were there, all fans were like over there, and they just erupted. And I remember looking at Oscar, he went, looked at me, and then he started smiling, and then Lou DeBella come over and went, I can't believe this is unbelievable, you've got some support here. And that rate, and then they obviously shot my opponent, because he was like trying to beat that. Honestly, that moment, one of the proudest in my career, that having that support there, knowing how rough it was, they've got no voices, but to take the roof off place like that was unbelievable.
Yeah, so obviously we've talked a lot about your boxing career. What do you think is next in that? Is the aim still to get that world title?
Yeah, world title, just the big fights,
the
money fights really. I'm 34 now. I feel better than I ever have. I feel like I'm in my peak now. But I'm just chasing the money. I want to finish the sport with a few quid in my pocket. Got some stuff that I'd like to do. We've been in just over a year in a new house which needs work doing to it, so I've got to keep fighting to pay for that. That's goal for me. I find it easier, training, putting my body through it, fighting, rather than having, being on building sites.
Yeah.
So, while ever there's fights there, which, I'm sure that the fights are still there. Speaking of I've got a call with my promoter, DeBella and his team tonight, actually, after here. So, they're saying the big fights are there. But, they will come. Just got to be patient. We don't know when, we don't know who, but fights are there. Like obviously the two fights that I've had in America, and I stopped going to America, so I'm a known person in America, which will obviously help to get fights there in future. That is the goal. I still keep fighting, and I don't know how long I'm going to go, but I'll just say my wife wants it to be over. My mum wants it to be over, but while ever I feel good and I'm performing, obviously. Minus that last one. We'll forget about that last one. While other things are going good, I'll carry on.
So to finish off the podcast, I like to ask the same few questions to every guest, starting with, if you could change one thing about boxing, what would it be?
Making judges accountable for the horrendous, because they don't understand what it does. Like they get to leave. Like in Oklahoma, those judges will have got paid. They'll have flown in business class. They'll got well looked after. they get on their plane out of there, they're going to the next city and judging and doing their thing.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I've put my whole life into this and my whole career, and they stole it, they took it away, and they don't have no repercussions. So that's one thing. You know, to have a fight with judges, a spar with judges. That seems fair, yeah.
I mean, is there any sort of way that you could like see them being held accountable? Any sort of solution to the problem?
I don't think I've got the authority and power. Although it would be good to, could almost like look at making like for boxers who it's happened to, like a boxers, we create our own like little group and we try and force a movement. But it's been around so long, and occasionally you get judges who get downgraded and stuff, but it's not enough now.
What is one fight in boxing history you wish you could have been ringside to watch?
There's a few, but if I had to say one that I enjoy watching, probably Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield won first fight. That was just all three fights were unbelievable, but yeah, just a good entertaining fight like that.
Who is one fighter from any era you wish you could have fought?
I haven't thought about the past eras, but how I thought my career was going to go to fight Lomachenko. That's someone who, and I think he will stand the test of time. As being an all-time great.
I'm gonna say that must be
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
That's what they stole from me.
Yeah, no, I'm
Bastard stole it from me.
I don't even want to think about it. It's So the YouTube boxing scene has a tag team format. If you had to choose one boxer, past or present, to be your tag team partner, who would it be?
Who would it be? Put me on the spot here. Maybe Edwin Valero, who's since died, but he ended up killing himself. But before that, his career finished up 27 fights, 27 wins, 27 knockouts, and the WBC lightweight champion. So he were a beast. So yeah, I'd have Edwin Valero.
And finally, what is one piece of advice you wish you could give to your younger self?
What would I do? I don't want to live with regrets around, but be educated. Try and be more educated on the business side of boxing. Understand that more before. If I could tell myself turning pro that, and that's what I would tell myself.
Maxi, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.